Hello and welcome to Ukraine Today. I'm Valery Solohoub. Join me now to discuss the Dutch business in Ukraine is the founder and owner of ATM Trade Management, Mr Arno Klijbroek. Mr Klijbroek, welcome to Ukraine Today.
Thank you for having me.
Mr Klijbroek, you came to Ukraine back in 1997.
Yes.
You were a hired employee, you were working here for 3 years, and then in 2000 you decided to start your own company. Tell us, why did you do that?
By 2000 I had been working for a Dutch multinational. I set up their office in Kiev. It was basically, I had a contract with the international organization. It was time for me basically to go back to Holland. But having had the chance to work in Ukraine for 3 years, but then I realized that lots of things were even just about to happen in Ukraine. So at that point I decided to start a company of my own. We, from that moment, have been providing legal and practical support to foreign investors on the Ukrainian market. And yeah, that's what we have been doing since 2000. And I would say with quite good success.
Well, Mr. Klijbroek, back in 2000, Ukraine was still a very uncertain state. There was still President Kuchma in power.
Yes.
There was first political protests happening in the country.
Yes.
Weren't you and you were in a country where very few foreign businesses were present? Weren't you concerned about starting your own business here?
Not at all. And I wouldn't say that there were, well, of course, at that point there were fewer foreign companies in Ukraine than there are now. But Ukraine was very much in the spotlight as one of the countries that just had opened up for business. So actually there was a lot of interest from foreign companies, from Dutch companies. Most of our clients are Dutch companies to enter into the Ukrainian market. And basically from the first year that we started our company, we've had very good business. And especially until, let's say, 2010, things were going very well for us.
Well, talking about the growth, the development of your business, the way your business ran during these, 16 years,
yeah.
There were a lot of political turmoils. You've lived through, how many, 3 presidents? President Kuchma, Yushchenko, Yanukovych, 4 presidents. So how were these 16 years for you now that you look back in perspective?
This has been, of course, some very intense. It's been a very intense period, and not only have we had several presidents, we have had 2 revolutions. We've had a few serious financial crises, and lived through them all. Lived through them well. And as you were speaking about the political, let's say, instability all the way, in my experience. From 2000 to 2010, business, in our experience, and I think in the experience of many companies that were on the market then, business developed almost in a parallel universe from politics. In politics, things were also happening. There wasn't really a lot of support from government for the development of business, but simply the drive within the people, within the country, to really make it happen. To develop a market economy in Ukraine. Also the foreign investors coming on board in that period, that is what created the development. At the moment we're in a situation where the further development of Ukraine, of the economy, of the society is only possible by active involvement of the government. And of course this is the process that we now have to go through. That's all.
What would you say were your main challenges during the last 16 years of doing business in Ukraine?
The main challenges?
Ukraine has been accused, and it's no secret, Ukraine is a corrupt country. The government, the politicians, the government officials, they're always demanding bribes from businesses. How did you cope with that?
Well, our policy has always been, and also our advice to our clients has always been to stay clean of it. It's also, in my really personal experience, a misconception that in Ukraine it's possible to do business only by paying bribes. It's definitely not the case. It takes more time. It has always taken more time because of the bureaucracy to get through the different procedures that exist. Many of our clients have developed successful businesses and staying clear really as much as possible of corrupt practices. And have done well business-wise in doing so. Fortunately, it's not really so that every step of the way, the only way to get somewhere is to pay a certain official. If you're willing to take the time needed, we've gone through most of the processes as it should be done. But it's also a matter of taking the time and not wanting to rush things. So in that sense, we did not have a lot of problem with corruption. Of course, it exists, and also to put it in perspective, the clients that we work with, they're mostly medium-sized companies. We have a few multinational clients, but this is also probably a field where it has been possible and is possible to do business cleanly quite well.
Mr. Klijbroek, you just said that your business was doing well up until 2010. That's when President Yanukovych came to power and began tightening the screws on the business. What happened in 2010?
Well, basically, of course, it became difficult from 2008. And then there was still the dynamic was basically moving forward, but then we got to 2010. When the former president got to power, then of course, the mood changed, because really it wasn't clear where we're going. New foreign investors were really not coming in anymore. Just we were by that time we had a stable client base that we work with, but really very few companies actually coming into Ukraine. We've actually had to close some of the companies of the partners that we work for, the clients that we have. So those were really the most difficult years from 2010 until, well, let's say 2013, 14. And at the moment, we fortunately, starting from last year, the end of last year, we see a positive dynamic again, that people are actively approaching us, that they want to go ahead again. We have had some requests from foreign investors. They are ready to invest in Ukraine. We're working with a few new companies now, and they're step by step they're moving ahead. They're coming actually into Ukraine again, which is a good trend.
During the times of President Yanukovych, a lot of businesses, including foreign businesses, had to shut down and leave Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Did you consider that you would have to do the same?
Well, let's say...
When things got sour.
It did cross my mind, because we are here with the family, yeah? And of course, being Dutch, we have the free choice, basically, to live and to work where we want. Now, having also, I can say, invested, so much of my really life into Ukraine, what always made me stay is really to want Ukraine to grow and to get through this period. But of course, yes, honestly, and the last, let's say, last 1 or 2 years from the Yanukovych presidency, it did cross my mind sometimes that maybe it would be better to move out. But fortunately, I didn't. I'm very glad that we stuck through, and at the moment, we're moving ahead again, and for the time being, we will definitely be here.
What were your emotions and feelings and thoughts during the Euromaidan revolution, when you saw these tens, hundreds of thousands of people go out on the Euromaidan revolution, go out on the Maidan, the main square in Kyiv, protest against the government, then with all the violence which took place? Mm-hmm. What were your emotions back then?
Well, first of all, when the whole Maidan movement started, the first emotion was that I was very proud of the Ukrainian people, how they finally left their fear and went out on the street en masse. I very well remember the first demonstration, which was, I think, the 1st of December or the 30th of November, when this was the first March of the Millions, when really there were probably about 1 million people flowing through the center, and really making clear that, yeah, enough is enough. And of course, this is what everybody had wanted to see already long before, but until that time, people were, unfortunately, were quite passive or afraid. And at that point, people got rid of their fear and took it, let's say, their destiny into their own hands from that moment onwards. And I'm really amazed by how people stuck through for 3 months and managed to get rid of the second biggest dictator in Eastern Europe. So,
what about the times when it got really rough, when there were killings of the Euromaidan activists on the streets? Wasn't it the time when you thought, okay, this is the time I have to get my family on the plane and leave the country?
No, I think at that time we were in the same, I would say, mood as the whole country. We were living, I think, but from day to day. We have our office in the middle of the center. Our daughter goes to school in the middle of the center, 1 street from Maidan. So every day, we were confronted by what's happening. We also went to many of the demonstrations together with the family. So we were living really through it like everybody else, and we're living at that time really, thinking back, I would say day by day, and the days of the shooting at Maidan, you know, we were not in the center. The thought of getting on a plane, of leaving, we never had. We were actually, like many people in Kiev, thinking of how can we help these people, basically by some small logistic aid or other types of aid. There were some initiatives by foreigners where money was collected to provide medical supplies or things like that. So those were basically more the things that we were concerned with, not about leaving.
Mr. Klijbroek, you have been living in Ukraine for almost 20 years now. Yeah. You have your family in the Netherlands. You have a lot of friends in the Netherlands. Yeah. When you first moved to Ukraine, what was their reaction and what was their perception of Ukraine?
Well, when I moved to Ukraine, I was 24, just fresh from studies. So I think probably, I mean, the honest response of many people was like, wow. But it was not really a surprise that I went to Ukraine, because before I came to Kiev, I already had been living in Moscow for a little bit over a year.
So you were the adventurous type?
Well, I was the adventurous type was one of the people that realized the opportunities that were about to open here. That is, when I went to Moscow as part of an internship within my studies in Holland. I specifically took this international business course because it was offering Russian language as a side subject. So it was basically quite specific that I already was looking firstly to Russia, then as it happened to Ukraine. So the people who knew me wasn't really a very big surprise that I went, let's say, in this direction.
But obviously, once you started living here, you were coming back to Holland, people would be asking you, what was their perception of Ukraine?
For them, Ukraine was Russia. If I go back to Holland regularly. So every now and then when I was back in Holland, people would say, okay, hey, you're back from Russia. No, sorry, it's Ukraine. So for the people then, the Soviet Union then basically just ended. So Soviet Union, Russia, all the different states, for many people it was like a sort of a blur and not a very clear picture. So, but by now, fortunately, people very much realize that Ukraine and Russia are 2 different countries. Yeah, but in the beginning, yes, it was quite unclear, of course, why I went there. But well, it wasn't a big surprise because of the years that preceded it.
Did you have your friends, relatives visiting you here in Ukraine?
Oh, of course, yes.
What was their reaction when they came here?
Everybody, without exception, very pleasantly surprised when they visited me in Kiev. Everybody who has never visited Ukraine, they have a very grey picture of the country. But people that actually that came here and had a chance to get to know Kiev, of course, we're mostly in Kiev. when people are visiting, they're always pleasantly surprised by the atmosphere, the day-to-day life, the friendliness of the people they meet. So in the end, yes, really, everybody without exception, nobody left with a grim face. Everybody happy that they at least now understand what the country where we're living in. So.
Mr. Klijbroek, starting from January 1st of this year, certain provisions of the Ukraine-EU Association Agreement have come into force. And Ukrainian government was placing high hopes on this agreement to boost the economy, to increase the inflow of foreign business in Ukraine. From your perspective, are you seeing the foreign businesses coming to Ukraine more and more?
Yes, as I think I just mentioned a little while before already from the end of last year, we again see an influx in our business of new clients that wanting to start up new business here or extend existing business. The mood is definitely more positive. And of course, the association agreement is the major motor in that. Doing business really does become more easy. Also already simply for Dutch exporters, it is already more cheap, more easy to get their products in, which everybody of course hopes will help in developing the export of Dutch products to Ukraine. So
one of the conditions for the EU association agreement to come into full force with Ukraine is its ratification by the government of the Netherlands. And prior to that, the Dutch government has called on a referendum, which, even though it has an advisory nature, is still taking place in April.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, it's a pity that there is a certain group of people who took the association agreement and let's say misused it for their purpose. Because the group that initiated this referendum, it's a group that is they're anti-European. They're against the decision-making structure in the EU. That's the main argument. It's actually quite strange, or it is very strange, that they took the association agreement with Ukraine as a topic for a referendum. These people claim to be pro-democracy. They want more democracy, they want the people to have more saying. Well, now, of course, the association agreement really does, what it does is really promote democracy on the larger scale. In Ukraine, it will help Ukraine develop democratically. And, well, when listening to the people that initiated this referendum, you would probably be surprised to learn that they proudly claim that they actually have never read the association agreement. And I think that there's a group of, 3 or 4 people. Most of them have never been even in Ukraine. So they took the association agreement as a topic. For what reason, for many people, it's not clear. It doesn't serve their goal. So, but I would say there's a positive note to the association agreement being held, for the referendum about the association agreement being held, in the sense that really Ukraine is in the news in Holland now for the last month and for the few more months to come. And there's also quite a lot of objective and positive news about Ukraine and the positive developments that are taking place here. So people who really are willing to at least spend some of their time in understanding what Ukraine is about and the processes that are here taking place, they actually receive a lot of objective information about the real situation that's going on here. And those that take the time, really not that much, but just the time to understand a little what the association agreement is, what the process that Ukraine is going through is all about, I'm quite confident that those people would vote in favor for the association agreement. also, there are quite many people that in Holland as well that don't understand why there should be a referendum. They're very much bothered by the fact that it's costing the Dutch taxpayer 40 million euros that could have been spent on many other good things. So,
Mr. Klijbroek, in your opinion, how does the Netherlands benefit from the association agreement between the EU and Ukraine?
Well, Holland is a trade country by nature. Until a few years ago, when the economy was, let's say, more or less functioning still, export from Holland to Ukraine was over 1 billion euros. Now, in the last 2 years, when things got, of course, difficult, export from Holland to Ukraine has dropped quite significantly. But this very easily also shows if Ukraine is allowed to develop normally, when there's a stable economy and stable trade relationships, export from Holland to Ukraine will easily jump by several hundred millions in quite a short period, I'm quite sure.
So basically, it's not only Ukraine, but also the Netherlands is benefiting from this agreement. If you were voting in this referendum, how would you vote?
Well, what do you think? I think yes. And I would very much, of course, encourage everybody to vote yes. It's good. First of all, it's good for Holland, simply for trade reasons. It's good for Ukraine, because it really stimulates the development of democratic institutions, of normalization of legislation. And I would say people also really should understand what a no vote would mean, basically a support vote for Russia. And Russia is the country that is also responsible for the death of 200 Dutch people when MH17 crashed. And I think that's also very important for Dutch people to understand that a no vote is a support vote, basically, for Putin. It will play in his cards. And anybody that really understands this would think they would find it very hard of ignoring that fact as well.
Well, let's hope that your message reaches the Dutch viewers. Mr. Klijbroek, really appreciate joining us today. Thank you for your time. We were discussing the challenges and benefits of doing the Dutch business in Ukraine with the founder and owner of ATM Trade Management, Mr. Arno Klijbroek. I'm Vladimir Solhoop. Thank you for watching Ukraine Today.